Arnie in Washington is calling with an interesting story about, I don't know, listening to us. So here we go.
Hi, Matt. Hi, Jim.
Hey.
These are my second favorites. Shannon's my first, but it's still a compliment.
Wait a minute. Did you just call in to tell us that we're not your favorite, and you thought I wouldn't hang up on you right away? I mean, I'm known for hanging up on people, and you're like, oh, well, all right, Shannon's my favorite too, so go ahead.
So, all right, so we're good then. Okay. So basically, a while back, you kind of gave me some homework, not explicitly, sort of implicitly. I'm an ex-Mormon, and I was calling in. We were discussing basically these spiritual experiences that I had been questioning that I had had as a Mormon, because as a Mormon, I kind of considered them revelations from God, and I hadn't really let that go yet, and so I was sort of, questioning what those experiences meant. And you pointed out that if God had given you some kind of spiritual experience or revelation, and that you later sort of started questioning that revelation, that you could turn to God again and get confirmation for that, because after all, if he gave you an experience once, he should be able to give it to you again. So I gave that a lot of thought, and basically from that call to now, I've been sort of putting that to the test and sort of basically praying when I was not in a vulnerable emotional state, and just sort of like calm and collected, and praying to God for some kind of confirmation. And in the absence of feeling any kind of confirmation, I'm kind of forced to conclude that although it doesn't falsify any possible model of God, it does sort of falsify, in my opinion, the notion of a God that's able to and willing to communicate with me, because otherwise, why wouldn't he, communicate? So basically, I'm now an atheist, I think, and that's kind of like how I got there. Although Shannon played a big part, so I want to pass on that to her. But
well, congrats, and I will pass this on to Shannon as well. Go ahead, continue. Thanks so much.
Okay. Well, now that I'm an atheist, I've been hearing a lot about this inner circle. So how do I get into that?
I'm afraid I'd tell you that, but I couldn't tell you on the air, and I'd probably have to kill you, or at least the first thing you have to do is show up with a baby for us to eat, and prove that you're working for Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. So there's a big. Okay. I'm not there yet. So
yeah, the cake is worth it.
All right.
Well, on that note, I want to say that, first of all, congratulations for doing what some other people don't frequently do, which is to actually evaluate your beliefs and put things to the test. It's a lot of people get scared away, especially Christians, because the passage says, "Thou shalt not put the Lord thy God to the test." And I heard this over and over and over. I mean, it was the stock answer every time I said, "Well, why not this? Well, why not this?" I heard it a lot. And so I hope that you just, I hope that you find a community in your area. I know that it's not easy right now, especially with, the pandemic-y stuff going on. But I'm always cautious when somebody says, "Oh, I was a theist, and now because of, something somebody said on the show or this other things." And I know that you went off and did some thoughtful research and reflection. But when I watch people change their minds, one thing that we know is that people can change their minds back, and that as long as your primary position is one of sound reasoning and evidence for any belief you hold, then atheism doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm not an atheist first. I'm a skeptic first and a humanist first. Those two are tied, and then atheism comes from that. But one of the things is that a lot of us, and I don't know how much you need community or how alone you might be, but it's just true that we generally need that, which is one of the reasons why we have the Atheist Community of Austin. And unfortunately, it's been incredibly difficult to have people, who we're friends with, who we're used to hanging out with, who we don't get to see very often. I mean, I need to get Jim back over the house just so we can play some more crokinole.
Yeah.
because
Wait.
Shannon evidently needs a partner for crokinole, and she's never even seen a round board. So
Oh wow. Yeah.
it's wild. Anyway,
That's right. She
I
was
got
playing
off
square.
on a sidetrack there, Arnie. Do you have questions, and do you have resources that you can avail yourself of?
Well, as far as like community, that it's sort of tricky. It's kind of it's different when you're part of a religion because you move someplace and you instantly have a community there. Whereas atheist is sort of the absence of a particular belief, and so it's a huge diversity there. So it's harder. I mean, I don't know. I'm new to this, but it seems like it would be difficult to maintain a community based on a negative, like the absence of a belief. But maybe
but it's not a negative. It's not like we get together on Sundays and congratulate ourselves for no longer believing in a God. That's not it. What it is a community, because most of us are in a position where we're going to have to engage with family members who are not atheists. It can often feel lonely to be the only one around when people are gathered for prayers and talking about God's plan and other things. Having other people to talk about or to talk to about those issues is the big thing. And you may not be dealing with that all that much, but it's not. I want to kind of curb the notion that this is hey, what else do we have in common other than we stopped believing in a God? Well, first of all, that may on occasion be enough, but there's a lot more to who all of us are. And Jim, when we're still meeting at the building, would have run the philosophy group to watch videos and have discussions on philosophical issues. We had games and other things, the social activities where you can come and be with people and not be the odd one out, at least not for the religion thing. You might be the odd one out for another reason. I'm frequently the odd one out.
Well, even on Sundays when we had live audiences, there was probably a good third of the people who were not there to talk about atheism. They were there to hang out and catch up with friends and do stuff like that. Most of the people talking about atheism were visitors, and they wanted to talk about atheism because in many cases they had never been someplace where they could do it. But most of the time, we were hanging out and having a good time, and some of us were talking about philosophy. There were some other groups there too. Heck, I used to just drop by on a weeknight and see who all was there, and we'd just kind of talk and do whatever and hang out. And if it was Thursday, we'd watch Secular Sexuality. If it was a Friday, we'd be we'd be hanging out and for Truth Wanted. So community is important. And
well, I appreciate the input. Thank you, guys.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for checking back in with us. I'm glad it worked out. I'm gonna let you go. I got a couple of announcements to make, but thank you very much, Arnie.